Good morning. Before I get started, I do just want to say thank you. This is my very first time in Hamburg. It's also my first time at OMR, and this is an absolutely fantastic event. Everyone that I've met here has been warm and welcoming, and I just want to say thank you for not just giving me your attention, but for creating such an incredible space for people to come together. Not everything feels like this, so thank you. So to get by all means. So, as I mentioned, my name is Asher. I've worked at Meta now for almost 7 years. And in that time, I've focused almost entirely on emerging platforms and emerging technology at the company. I started by working on our ad products. For those of you who used to or still use Facebook advertising, you may remember Ads Manager or Power Editor. I worked on those years ago. But I moved over into emerging tech, focused on Messenger and WhatsApp, before spending the last 3 years on what we now view as our future, the products coming out of Meta Reality Labs. Now today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we got here, how our strategy has evolved, what we're building, and how we're working to bring it to market, and finally, what you can do if you want to lean in. But first, I want to talk a little bit about myself. I didn't expect to be a marketer. I grew up as a nerdy kid, still am, and I grew up in New York City in the early 80s and 1990s. Music, science fiction, live music, musicals, these were the things that got me excited. I was a huge fan of things like Star Trek: The Next Generation. Anyone a Star Trek fan in here? It's okay, you can be honest. No one's going to judge you. Cool. And I was also a huge fan of jam bands, The Grateful Dead, Phish. These were the things that got me to go out and be happy. You know, there is still a through line here between all of these nerdy pursuits. It's storytelling. Theater, music, the holodeck on the Enterprise, all of these orbit a planet of storytelling. That's what got me to where I am today, and it's something that I'm still deeply passionate about. It's the dream of being able to truly inhabit a story, not just consume it, where we're emotionally involved in the content that's around us that we're consuming, whether it's a movie, whether it's music or an album, a TV show, or ultimately a future like the holodeck, where we're not just consuming content, we're fundamentally in it, a part of it. You see, storytelling, of course, is not always fictional. And the need to tell someone about what's important is core to human experience. It drives empathy, emotional connection, humor, love, of course, commerce. We've seen that for years at Facebook. It's part of what drew me to the company in the first place. Facebook and Instagram are nothing if not a steady stream of personal stories, truth, and interaction coming right at you. All of our products revolve around the core premise that if you can reach the right person at the right time with the right message, then you can create and drive change, love, passion, and business. Now, we've seen this happen, this evolution of storytelling technology, several times over the last few years. Supercomputing, which came about in the late 1980s and early 1990s, driven by Cray or Sun Microsystems, whose campus Meta is still inhabiting, helped lead the way for the Pixar image computer. And for those who don't know, the Pixar image computer was the device that ultimately allowed Pixar to create all of the movies that fundamentally created the foundation of their history, so from Toy Story on. It helped Industrial Light and Magic create all of the beautiful effects behind Star Wars. It led to a major change in the way that we storytell. We saw it again with mobile phones in the late 2000s, led by iPhone. Changed the way that we interacted from episodic to immediate. And it changed the way that we were able to inhabit those contents because it moved us from image and video sharing into live streaming, making the reality that we all live in an experience in live storytelling. And now we're on the verge of an entirely new revolution, one that will take us out from in front of our devices and into new worlds where we can share, connect, and interact, storytell with one another. It's live, but not necessarily in person. And it defies the laws of physics because we don't have to follow the rules that govern the world, the physical world that we inhabit today. That's the metaverse. Now, there's many different definitions of the metaverse, but we're going to start by defining it the way that we at Meta do. The metaverse fundamentally is a concept, an interconnected, flexible container. It's an idea built by many creators and not owned by any one developer, nation, creator, or corporation. And the term creators itself is so important because it spans everything from individual artists and musicians to creative agencies and businesses and industry at large. Now, some elements of the metaverse exist today, albeit in a limited capacity, and I suspect some of them are ones that you're familiar with. There's the mobile internet. That shows us what's possible when we're not tied and anchored to our desk. Augmented reality, which can add layers, context, meaning, and emotion all around us to the physical world that surrounds us, making our everyday more immersive. Virtual reality that can unlock the feeling of being there, even if the participants in those worlds are far, far apart from one another. And of course, there are other examples that have been out there for decades. Everything like gaming platforms, Minecraft, Second Life, if you remember that from 20 years ago, and of course, Roblox, which have proven that you can step into other worlds and build them and inhabit them, powered only by your imagination. Now, if that's what the metaverse is, what should it feel like? What do we aspire to? The metaverse is going to enable, and in fact must enable, a fundamental feeling of presence. That feeling that you're really there with another person in that same space, making eye contact and connecting on a human level. It will also have a sense of persistence or continuity. You'll be able to access the metaverse at any time, and it will be a continuation of where you are. There's no reboot. So if you step back into an experience in the metaverse, it will have gone on while you were gone, just like the world out there is going on while this talk is happening. And it will be interoperable. That means that you'll be able to access the metaverse from any device with different levels of fidelity. If you want full immersion, you can put a VR headset on. If you want to experience an augmented world, you can use your phone or future devices that will allow for that. And if you just want to watch what's going on, you can do that too on a PC or using a mobile device. Now, I want to touch briefly on our shared responsibility in this space. First, and this is critically important, the metaverse can't and will not be built by just one company. It's not possible. The best parallel to the metaverse is to think about the internet. Nobody owns the internet per se. The internet is not a product in and of itself. And when we think about the metaverse, it's largely the same. There are multiple virtual, augmented, mixed reality hardware and software ecosystems that will sit within this larger bubble of the metaverse. And in general, to be honest, there's too many layers, too much infrastructure, and too much work required in order for us to be able to build what we as a community of creators ultimately want to bring to market. So every leader in this space will need to partner closely to make this a viable future-forward platform. Now, given that I work for Meta, I do want to share a bit about what we're building for this space and why. Now, we believe that our role in this journey is to accelerate the development of fundamental technologies. The idea is to bring platforms and creative tools that will bring the metaverse to life and to weave these technologies together, through, and into all of our existing social media apps, Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram. From our perspective, the metaverse can enable better social experiences than anything that exists on those products today, and we're going to dedicate our energy to bringing that to market. So you're going to see future investments in hardware and software to unlock that potential, whether it's using Spark, which is our development environment for augmented reality, whether it's using Horizon Worlds to build for virtual spaces on Oculus, our virtual reality headsets, or whether it's being able to share moments without having to utilize our phones and get them out of our faces by using devices like smart glasses, such as Ray-Ban Stories. Now, as we build these new experiences, we're going to do this with responsible innovation principles in mind. 4 critical rules for developing in the metaverse. The first, never surprise people. This means being transparent about how products work, what data they will collect, and what someone can expect when they step into a world. The second is provide controls. This means making sure that people are always in control of the experience. That means that if you step into a virtual world, you are the person in charge of that world. Consider everyone. This is about building products with an eye towards diversity and inclusion, making sure that anybody feels comfortable in being in a world and how they are represented in that world. And fourth, putting people first. This fundamentally means deciding not just what's right for our business, but prioritizing what's best for a user and a person in the metaverse. Now, given my background, one in theater and art, I happen to believe very strongly that good commerce comes after good art. Meta believes this too. So in addition to following our responsible innovation principles, you'll see us leaning into our investments around unlocking the power of creativity. Much like how the printing press was an awakening in the world's potential, there is an awakening of creative potential happening right now with the first glimpses of the metaverse coming to life. We believe so much in the creative potential of the metaverse that we're investing $150 million over the next 3 years to help creators build for this space. We want to skill the next generation of augmented and virtual reality storytellers and creators. We want to do that by funding high-quality experiences that transform the way that they can learn so that they will be able to tell these stories for the future. Now, creators are technically skilled and creative in bringing previously impossible experiences to life and doing so without the limitations that physics or distance create. Now, with all that said, while we invest in the future for everyone, we're not going to turn away from our existing products. In fact, these past investments in communities, creators, in commerce, in computing platforms like Oculus will only help to articulate our vision for this future. And our foundational apps and products and services will be a crucial part in the metaverse as it becomes together. So you've heard from me a little bit about why I believe in the potential for the metaverse, and you've heard a bit about how we're approaching this new frontier at Meta, but I do want to spend these last few minutes talking about what the potential implications are for businesses. Given that the elements of the metaverse are already at play, you can see how everyday technology is already leading the way towards this new future. There are foundational products from Meta that you can leverage today that will begin to bridge that gap between where we are today and ultimately where we will be over the next 10 years. Live shopping will ultimately create a bridge into virtual commerce, which is a really important point, because right now, a lot of people think about commerce as existing solely in the context that it has for the last 20 years. The metaverse offers opportunities for us not just to experience a product in the way that we have, but to reimagine what it can mean to have a relationship with it when it is presented in front of us virtually. You can leverage MetaSpark to change two-dimensional interactions into three-dimensional interactions, like using augmented reality to drive product try-on, or using AR ads to drive discoverability. You could capture a new marketing or storytelling perspective through Ray-Ban Stories and share that content to communities using and developing an entirely new point of view, the first person. You can enable business messaging to ensure that your community has a shared digital space to connect so that people who are comfortable coming together using traditional text media will feel at home when that explodes into the world around them and they can come together in virtual spaces. All of this is to say, understanding these critical building blocks can allow you to act faster when new technologies come to the center of consumer behavior and allow you to meet your consumers where they already are. I'll give you a couple examples. You could take a Facebook or Instagram shop and evolve that into a virtual space in the metaverse, where somebody isn't just scrolling through products, they're able to experience things that might not be possible in the physical world. Perhaps they could take a piece of clothing that they like and immediately alter it using just their hands or their voice, as opposed to clicking through or scrolling through. Service-oriented businesses, both big and small, like a painter or broadband service, might be able to conduct a home consultation and finally get rid of horrible things like phone trees as they're able to step out of a text conversation and into the world around you, so that somebody talking about how to improve your home won't just describe it to you, they can literally show it to you as they pitch it. Or possibly even just partnering with a creator and reimagining the idea of what a live event can be, so that we can still create things like this in the physical world, and then completely reinvent what it would mean to come together virtually when we're not constrained by things like time, money, or physics. We believe that the metaverse will unlock new opportunities for people, communities, and businesses. Opportunities that can enhance our time together when we're not physically in the same space. But we also believe that the metaverse does not need to be a one-to-one experience to the physical world. For example, just because you're a big box retailer or a beauty brand, for example, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to build a virtual store that's just like the one in the physical world, or sell products that are just like the ones that you make and deliver here in this space. It frees you up to embrace the metaphorical reality of your brand so that you can continue to drive revenue in the physical world and discover new opportunities in the virtual. Because the metaverse doesn't conform to the same rules of physics that the physical world does. And that's a freeing thought. I don't have to appear as myself in the metaverse. I could be a 100-foot-tall teddy bear or a cricket in the wind. It's whatever I choose to be and however I wish to express myself. Now, even though businesses in the metaverse may feel a long way off, the mobile internet has shown us that when we level the playing field, we do see increased economic opportunity for everyone. From creating a digital storefront to messaging a customer around the world, the mobile internet has expanded business beyond physical shops and put it in everyone's pocket. The last 10 years have enabled us to reinvent what it means to have a personal experience, to meet people's growing expectations and how they want to engage with a business. The metaverse will enhance this trend. We are committed to creating a metaverse together with you that empowers individuals and anticipates the challenges. Now, this reality is really early in the journey, but it only works if you're as excited about it as we are. And the potential for new stories, brands, and these products are limitless, but only because you, if you are willing, will lean in. So what to do? What's the best advice? Honestly, just go out there and try it. Get some AR glasses. Go borrow a VR headset. Play games. Go meet people in a virtual space. Most importantly, form your own opinions, because the vitality of the metaverse will not be based on what we build, but by what you create for it fundamentally. So fundamentally, I'm going to be looking for what you will make as we build this future together. Thank you for the generosity of your time and your open-mindedness. Good luck, and I hope to see you over in Hall A1, where if you haven't tried an Oculus before, you can with us today. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.